London, 1881. The greatest city in the world, capital of an empire upon which the sun never sets. Gas lamps flicker through perpetual fog. Carriages clatter across cobblestones slick with rain. The Thames flows dark and silent, carrying secrets to the sea. Beneath the veneer of progress and civilization, darkness thrives. Murder in alleyways, blackmail in drawing rooms, theft disguised as charity, lies wrapped in respectability. The police do their best. Scotland Yard employs capable men, but they work with facts that anyone can see. What they need is someone who sees what others cannot, someone who reads truth in the ash of a cigar, in the mud on a boot, in the angle of a hat brim. Someone who treats crime not as chaos, but as a puzzle waiting to be solved. In a modest flat at 221B Baker Street lives such a man. His name is Sherlock Holmes. And this is the story of how one eccentric detective became a legend. Dr. John Watson returns to London broken. He is a former military surgeon invalided home from Afghanistan after being wounded in action. His health is shattered. His savings are dwindling. He needs lodgings he can afford and perhaps, though he would never admit it, purpose to fill the void left by war. A mutual acquaintance suggests sharing rooms with an unusual fellow seeking a flatmate. Watson agrees to meet him at an address on Baker Street. He climbs 17 steps and enters a sitting room cluttered with the chaos of obsessive intellect. Books overflow shelves. Chemical apparatus covers every surface. Newspapers are scattered like fallen leaves. A violin rests against a chair. Standing over a laboratory bench, conducting some incomprehensible experiment, is Sherlock Holmes. He is tall, thin, with sharp features and eyes that seem to look through rather than at you. His movements are precise, his focus absolute. Without looking up, Holmes speaks. "You have been in Afghanistan, I perceive." Watson freezes. The question, or rather, the statement, is impossible. They have never met. Watson has told him nothing. Holmes finally looks up, a slight smile on his lips. He explains with casual brilliance. Watson's skin is tanned, but his wrists are pale, evidence of tropical sun and recently wearing long sleeves. He carries himself with military bearing, despite a slight limp favoring the left leg. That injury is not from accident but combat. The way he instinctively protects it suggests familiarity with bullet wounds. The British Army has been engaged recently only in Afghanistan. Therefore, Watson is a military doctor returned from that campaign. Watson stands speechless. Holmes returns to his experiment as if performing miracles is merely routine. And with that casual display of brilliance, their partnership is born. Watson moves in that very day. Within weeks, he discovers that sharing lodgings with Sherlock Holmes means entering a world far stranger than any battlefield. Holmes is not a conventional man. He knows nothing of literature, philosophy, or astronomy, information he considers useless clutter for the mind. But he possesses encyclopedic knowledge of crime, chemistry, and the psychology of deception. He has authored monographs on tobacco ash, capable of identifying 140 varieties by examining residue. He can trace the origins of mud samples from anywhere in London. He has cataloged tattoo patterns associated with specific criminal organizations. His methods are revolutionary. Where police see random evidence, Holmes sees narrative. Every crime tells a story, not through what criminals say, but through what they cannot hide. Watson watches in amazement as Holmes solves cases that baffle Scotland Yard. A pawnbroker is hired for absurdly easy work copying encyclopedias, paid generously to keep him away from his shop for specific hours each day. The job seems legitimate, even charitable, but Holmes deduces the entire scheme in minutes. Criminals are tunneling from the pawnbroker's basement toward a nearby bank vault. The elaborate employment, the red-headed league they call it, is merely a distraction. Holmes alerts police, and the thieves are captured mid-robbery, their tunnel mere feet from a fortune in gold. Precious gem The blue carbuncle is found inside a Christmas goose purchased at market. The bird was one of thousands sold that week. Holmes traces it backward through markets and farms, identifying the thief not through interrogation, but through pure logical deduction. In an unexpected act of mercy, Holmes lets the guilty man go free. It is Christmas, after all, and some crimes deserve second chances. A hydraulic engineer is hired for suspicious late-night work at a remote house and barely escapes with his life, minus a thumb severed by machinery. Holmes deduces a counterfeiting operation hidden in the countryside and leads authorities to the criminals before they can flee, though the missing thumb is never recovered. London begins to notice. The name Sherlock Holmes is whispered in police stations, mentioned in newspaper columns, feared in criminal circles. But not all cases end in triumph. One evening, a client arrives wearing an elaborate disguise that fools no one. Holmes greets him without rising. "Good evening, Your Majesty." The King of Bohemia removes his mask, stunned. His boots are custom-made in a style worn only by Central European royalty. The ring on his finger bears his family crest. He carries himself with the unconscious arrogance of absolute power. The king has a problem. Years ago, he had an affair with an American opera singer named Irene Adler. Now, on the eve of his politically crucial marriage, Adler possesses a photograph that could destroy him. She has refused all bribes and resisted all threats. The king needs Holmes to retrieve that photograph at any cost. Holmes accepts the challenge. This should be simple. Locate the photograph, acquire it through stealth, collect the fee. But Irene Adler is not simple. Holmes disguises himself as a groom and stages a fake fire outside her home, expecting her to instinctively grab her most precious possession and reveal its hiding place. She does exactly that. Holmes notes the location carefully. Later that night, he returns to steal the photograph. But when he opens the hiding place, he finds only a letter addressed to him personally. She recognized him the moment he entered her street. The fire was transparent. But she is leaving England tonight with her new husband. The photograph will never be used against the king. She keeps it only as insurance, and she thanks Holmes for the entertainment, signing off with respect and a final acknowledgement: he has been beaten by a woman. Holmes stands alone in the empty house, the letter in his hands. For the first time in his career, he has been outwitted. When Watson later teases him about the failure, Holmes's response is quiet but sincere: "To me, she is always the woman." It is the closest Sherlock Holmes will ever come to admitting admiration, perhaps even affection. Early one morning, a terrified young woman arrives at Baker Street. Her name is Helen Stoner. Her twin sister died 2 years ago under mysterious circumstances, and now Helen fears she will be next. Her sister's last words were cryptic and terrifying. The Speckled Band. Oh, the Speckled Band. No one could explain what she meant. Now Helen hears the same strange whistling sound at night that her sister described before her death, and her stepfather insists she move into the very room where her sister died. Holmes listens intently. The stepfather, Dr. Grimesby Roylott, is a violent man with a history of rage and a desperate need for money. Money he will inherit only if his stepdaughters die before marrying. Holmes and Watson travel to the family estate and examine the room where the sister died. No windows can be opened from outside. The door was locked from within. Yet she died in terror, clutching at invisible threats. Holmes notices details others missed: a ventilator that connects to the stepfather's adjacent room, but does not actually ventilate to the outside. A bell pull that does not ring any bell. A bed bolted to the floor, positioned directly beneath the ventilator. And in Roylott's room, a saucer of milk, a small dog leash, and a locked iron safe. Holmes's eyes narrow. He understands. That night, Holmes and Watson sit in darkness in Helen's room, waiting. Hours pass in silence. Then, a soft metallic sound. A faint whistle. Something is descending through the ventilator. Holmes strikes a match and lashes out with his walking stick, hitting something that recoils with a hiss. A shriek echoes from the adjacent room. When they investigate, They find Dr. Roylott dead, his face twisted in agony. Wrapped around his head is a swamp adder, one of the deadliest snakes in India. He had trained it to crawl through the ventilator, down the bell pull rope, and onto the bed to bite his victims while they slept. The milk was its reward. The leash prevented it from escaping. Holmes had driven the snake back through the ventilator with his stick. The enraged serpent struck its master instead. Justice, Holmes observes quietly, has a way of finding its own path. Not all of Holmes's cases end in success. A young man named John Openshaw arrives at Baker Street in a state of terror. His family has been marked for death by a mysterious organization. His uncle received 5 orange pips in an envelope, followed by death. His father received the same warning, followed by death. Now John has received the envelope containing 5 seeds. Holmes examines the clues, the pips, the letters KK, the pattern of deaths. He concludes quickly. The Ku Klux Klan, an American secret society seeking revenge for some past betrayal. Holmes gives precise instructions: surrender certain papers to the organization, leave the country temporarily, send word when safe. But fate moves faster than telegrams. That very night, John Openshaw is found drowned in the Thames, his body pulled from the river near Tower Bridge. Holmes sits in silence for hours, staring into the fire. He admits what he rarely acknowledges: I have been beaten. I acted too slowly. And a man is dead because of it. Watson has never seen him like this, the great detective, humbled by failure. Holmes vows to find those responsible. He tracks the killers to a ship preparing to leave England. But before he can act, the ship is lost in a storm off the coast, taking the murderers to a watery grave. Justice is served, but it brings no comfort. From this case forward, Holmes becomes more cautious, more aware that brilliance alone is not enough. Some criminals must be stopped before they can act. Some mysteries demand speed, not just accuracy. As Holmes's fame grows, he begins to notice a disturbing pattern. Across London, crimes are connected by invisible threads. Blackmail schemes that benefit unseen masters. Forgeries executed with professional precision. Thefts coordinated across the city with military efficiency. This is not the work of ordinary criminals. This is organization, system, intelligence operating from the shadows. Holmes speaks to Watson one evening by the fire. There is someone orchestrating London's underworld. Someone I have never met, but whose presence I feel in every unsolved case. A spider at the center of a vast web. A name surfaces in whispered conversations among informants and captured criminals: Professor James Moriarty, a former mathematics professor of extraordinary genius who turned his intellect toward crime. He sits at the center of a criminal network, never committing crimes himself, but directing others with surgical precision. Holmes begins dismantling the organization piece by piece. He exposes a forgery ring operating from respectable banks. He identifies blackmailers targeting members of parliament. He intercepts smuggled goods before they reach buyers. Each arrest tightens the noose around Moriarty's empire. But the professor remains untouchable, brilliant enough to insulate himself from evidence, powerful enough to destroy those who threaten him. One night, Holmes receives an unexpected visitor. A tall, thin man with a domed forehead and sunken eyes enters Baker Street uninvited, moving with the confidence of someone who fears nothing. Professor Moriarty sits down without invitation. He speaks calmly, almost cordially. "Good evening, Mr. Holmes. I believe it is time we had a conversation. You have caused me considerable inconvenience. I would prefer you cease your interference." Holmes remains perfectly still, his eyes fixed on his greatest adversary. "And I would prefer London not be run by a criminal mastermind." Moriarty's expression doesn't change. "Then, we are at an impasse. I suggest you reconsider. I do not make idle threats, Mr. Holmes. If you continue this course, consequences will follow." He rises and leaves as quietly as he arrived. Holmes knows the game has changed. This is no longer about solving individual cases. This is war, a battle of intellects between the greatest detective and the greatest criminal mind in England. Night falls on Baker Street. Holmes sits by the fire, violin in hand, playing a melancholy melody that drifts through the fog-shrouded street. Watson enters and asks the question he has asked many times before. Will you ever rest? Holmes lowers the bow and considers the question seriously. Rest? Watson, crime does not rest. Injustice does not sleep. As long as there are secrets to uncover and wrongs to right, the work continues. That is not burden, it is purpose. Watson sits opposite his friend. You've saved countless lives, solved impossible mysteries, become the most famous detective in the world. Does none of that satisfy you? Holmes smiles faintly. Satisfaction is not the point. The work itself is the reward. The chase. The puzzle. The moment when chaos resolves into clarity. That is what I live for. He rises and walks to the window, gazing out at the city that never truly sleeps. Somewhere in those fog-shrouded streets, crimes are being committed. Mysteries are waiting to be solved. And in the shadows, Professor Moriarty is planning his next move. Holmes turns back to Watson, his eyes sharp with anticipation. Out there, my friend, puzzles wait to be solved. And so long as they exist, Sherlock Holmes will be there to solve them. He picks up his coat and hat, steps out into the London fog, and disappears. A solitary figure moving through the darkness, forever hunting truth in a world built on lies. The city swallows him, but his legend remains. In a world of deception, one man sees truth. In a city of shadows, one light burns eternal. So long as crime exists, so too will Sherlock Holmes.